Hey, thanks for clicking your way to Daily Strength. I'm Joe Stowell. Let's talk about living in a changing world. Our text, Psalm 11:3. When the foundations are being destroyed, what can the righteous do? In case you haven't noticed, our world has dramatically changed. It wasn't long ago that it would have been unthinkable that nearly 40 million unborn children would be murdered in America. There was a time when kids could pray in public school. Nativity scenes dotted the lawns of county courthouses and municipal parks without protest. Marriage was strictly a guy-girl arrangement, and you could even pray in Jesus' name at graduation ceremonies. And I'm not interested in being like the grump who said, in my life, I've seen a lot of things change, and quite frankly, I've been against them all. But if you are talking about changing the face of America to the point where God is out and everything else is in, well, then I have a problem with that kind of change. My problem is wondering how to handle my heart and my attitudes, wondering how to live and respond in a world where the foundations of righteousness are being eroded on nearly every front. So how do we, as followers of Jesus, process right and wrong in a world that tells us there are no absolutes? How do we proclaim that Jesus alone is what people really need, that he is the truth and the way, when most people no longer believe that there is any such thing as truth? You don't have to be an industrial strength theologian to realize that current thought patterns of most Americans fly directly in the face of what we hold to be true. Like, if there are no absolutes, you can forget about the Ten Commandments. If nothing is ever right or wrong, then there is no sin and no need of a Savior. It's easy to see that believing in what God tells us about righteousness, truth, and godly living leaves us marginalized and outdated. So our hearts cry out with David in Psalm 11:3. When the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? Well, let's start with knowing what not to do. Notice that David doesn't wring his hands in despair. He didn't flee as a bird to the mountain, as the text says. Instead, he decided to take refuge in the unchanging one. His confidence was bolstered by the fact that God is on his holy throne and that God's eyes are well aware of what is going on. Reminded of the ultimate judgment that God would pour out on wickedness, David knew that in the face of unsettling change, staying on course with God was indeed the best and safest alternative. Now, looking at all the change from God's point of view, he realized that though the change seemed overwhelming, God was still very much in charge and ultimately victorious. So why would any of us want to go soft on God and soft on his truth to feel more with it, when we know that the with it party train is headed for a disastrous train wreck? So, come on, let's quit all the hand-wringing and feeling sorry for ourselves. It's time to cheer up, knowing that the things we can't change, such as God's righteousness and eternal reign, are still in place. You can go with the change if you choose. I'm going with my changeless God.